Okay.
The views, opinions, and statements expressed in the following program reflect the views of the program contributors and do not necessarily reflect views of CAB Broadcasting LLC and its managements or its sponsors.
Welcome to an exciting show to Prem Connection, a Thursday night, 7 o'clock every Thursday. Good evening, Kamal Auntie. Good evening, Auntie Renu. How are you guys?
Good evening, Uncle Rohan. Doing good.
Yeah? How was the holidays?
Which holiday?
There's a
Which holiday we're talking about?
The Thanksgiving holiday.
Oh, okay. I feel like I've been on holiday since March 16th. This is all COVID. Yeah, I don't think I've ever spent as much time at home as I've spent, in the last 30 years that I've spent in the last 9 months. So, been good.
I mean, it's a good thing because Prem Connection's been going well. You guys have already gotten a lot of clients, which is great. So how's it been going with that?
It's going really good. Going really good. Yeah, we're doing interviews and, listening to all kinds of wish lists and non-negotiables and negotiable items. And it's interesting to see how people have so many different ideas, some of them quite unrealistic, some acceptable.
But there's one thing in common with every one of them, that they tried those swiping and wiping and whatever, and it doesn't work. So, they're coming to Prem Connection. So it is a good thing because, those apps are not working for most people. But there are, gotta be honest that it has worked for everybody. But,
it's interesting, Rohan. I think on one of our shows you had asked about, is it called catfish?
And ghosting.
Yeah, and also the people, they'll start talking and then they'll just, what is it called when you just disappear? Ghosting. Yeah. So that's one of the most common things that we hear from people on the apps, is that they'll be talking for like 6 months and then the person will just disappear completely. Right. So, or how do you tell someone you're not interested anymore? That's an awkward thing to say, especially if it's through your mom's friend.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's a great thing about Prem Connection, is that we can do that part. But even like what you said at the beginning about how people have their non-negotiables and their wish list. And I think what's great about today's guest, Ritika, being a life coach, because some people do need that type of help and drive. And before she comes on, I'd like to introduce Ritika Rose. She is the CEO of Life Redefined, the best-selling author of Tagged You're It, Become the Leader of Your Own Life, and the creator of AIM, Higher Personal Success Program. Ritika started her career in medicine as a director of rehabilitation. After a profound personal healing, she was called to share her path to peace with others. Ritika's life coaching, leadership consulting, and wellness practice focuses on the discovery and development of one's highest self for personal and professional leadership success. Ritika helps people heal internal and external life challenges by mastering their inner self and embracing authentic living. Ritika's mission is to help her clients redefine relationship to self, others, and life, resulting in better conscious relationships for humanity overall. Ritika has over 2 decades of experience in multifaceted human service, restoring her clients' highest quality of life for physical, emotional, behavior, and spiritual well-being. Please, I mean, it's a lot that she's done. So we are super excited to talk to her. And I think, good evening, Ritika. How are you?
Hey guys, how's it going? Thank you for having me on.
Good, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
We were just reading through your intro. We are so lucky to have someone who has, started in a career in something else and now found her passion into life coaching. So without further ado, let's get into it. Ritika, maybe help our listeners out. What is life coaching?
So life coaching is it's an up and coming wellness profession. That's a lot more accepted now. But what life coaches really do is we help our clients to overcome any obstacles or any areas of life that are feeling stuck or blocked in achieving their life goals, right? And life goals are different for everybody. You'll see now there's so many coaches, so many different wellness coaches out there, right? I happen to be a life coach, so I focus on life. I focus on, helping my clients really embrace their true selves and shift into authentic living, right? But then there's coaches, there's health coaches, there's diet coaches, there's love coaches, there's dating coaches, relationship coaches. So each coach has their own unique way of helping their clients overcome the obstacles that their clients are personally feeling to achieve those particular goals.
So, I'm interested to know, Ritika, when you say life coach, so you're talking about people, let's say, for example, somebody's going through a divorce. I mean, that's your life is affected in that, right?
Yes.
And you may not be ready for a relationship, but you need somebody to help you go through this. Is this something that life coaching would help?
Yeah, I don't want to say how a lot, but yes, I do work with clients that are moving through divorce, or are recently divorced, or in the process of debating whether divorce is the next step for them, etc. But also helping, even with my clients, I do help to mend the relationship or any relationship issues that are happening within the marriage as well. Sometimes I'll have one spouse come and hire me to do work with me, but many times I see that they bring their spouse in to work with me, either individually, separately, or sometimes together. So, when it comes to relationships, I mean, really one of the key things is communication, right? So it's really, and another thing I really do within my practice is help my clients to become deeply aware of themselves, right? Self-awareness is the key to everything. So how are you showing up in life? How are you showing up in the relationship, right? How are other people perceiving you? Because we may feel like we're showing up a certain way, or we're a certain way, but other people are not perceiving us or receiving us that way. So having the feedback from others is really important for us to understand about ourselves, right? So we can make the appropriate transitions, transformation, changes, etc. Within that relationship or for ourselves, in order to really fulfill the outcome.
Ritika, maybe even explaining on that, it sounds kind of like therapy, but I know it's different. Can you explain the difference between therapy and life coaching?
Yeah, I love that question. I have this conversation with people often too. It's, I'm just going to dive into 3 different areas, right? So like there's psychiatry, there's psychotherapy, and there's life coaching, right? Counseling. So, when we look at psychiatry, those are really, medical doctors that are prescribing a certain illness and diagnosing someone with an illness and medications, et cetera. Then you go into psychotherapy, where therapy really is a place to talk out your feelings, express your emotions, maybe understand a little deeper where these emotions are coming from, and heal through that. And then coaches really help the clients to set goals for their lives, right? And we hold them accountable to those goals and the desires that they're seeking. Now, I will say, because I've seen this a lot over the last few years, there's a tad bit of overlap. Like I see a lot of therapists now adding coaching into their practice, right? And even in coaching, there's some therapeutic, modalities that could be introduced depending on the coach. I happen to have a medical background, so, I will use the medical knowledge that I have with my degrees in occupational therapy and psychology into my practice as well, for a really holistic approach to my healing and coaching, right? So I really bring the physical, emotional, and spiritual well-being a process together within my practice. So does that answer your question? I know it was a little bit longer.
No, it does.
Yeah.
And in fact, when you were answering that, I'm just curious, when you say like you hold your clients accountable, can you give us an example of like how you do that?
Yeah, so I personally call it homework. So like every week they come to me, and I have a framework within my coaching program that I use. So it's every week, we're working on a different lesson. Essentially, I have 2 assessments that I have, a life fulfillment assessment and a values assessment, and then I have a whole course based on my book, and that's an 8-week process that I take my clients to really step into authentic leadership of self, right? And to really own their own life. I love your logo, create your own story, because, it is that, right? So every week, we go through the steps and we go through the process, and I give them homework. So I'm holding them accountable to do the work from the lessons that they're learning through and with me that week, right? So just like, in one of the interviews in an article I did some time back, I said no Olympian ever got to the Olympics without a coach, right? The coach is holding you accountable, reminding you of your strengths, motivating you. We're like your biggest cheerleader to really help you achieve the goals that you are setting for yourself, right? Like I'm your biggest support system. You say you have this goal, then I'm going to help you get there. And I'm going to hold you accountable to getting there.
One of the most challenging issues that people are having that you coach them on, are there any particular main ones, or is it just general? Or
it is so general, Kamalanti, but in the core of it all, it comes down to really believing in yourself and having the confidence in yourself, right? And really stepping into where again, really where my focus is, really stepping into who you truly are. Because my motto is, we can't operate at our full potential if we're not operating from integrity of self. You must know who you are. You must step into your truth and show up that way in all aspects of your life for you to feel fully fulfilled. And if you're not operating in your truth in various areas of your life, then you're not going to feel satisfied or fulfilled. And something in life is going to be out of alignment. Something in life is not going to be functioning at its optimal potential. And that's what my assessment does. It really helps people to understand what's out of alignment and what do we need to get back on track, right?
Yeah.
And helping people to understand, their patterns and their beliefs that they've had up until this point, and then to, overcome those patterns, help them understand that and become really deeply aware of how they got there to begin with. Like, what was the root cause? What's the root of all of this? And then overcome that, right? With personal strategy, because every human being is different. We all have our own life experiences. We're all feeling a certain way based on the experiences life has given up until this point. So it's not a general thing, right? When I'm working with my clients, it's very personalized. Like, I'm really stepping into your life and what's happening in your life and helping you to
basically honing into their, issues and just working on that.
Yeah,
No.
and coming up with personal strategies for them, personal tools and techniques for them to implement in their life, that quote unquote, the homework that I give them to you. And then I watch them and I watch the progression as they implement these strategies that will ultimately get them to the goal that they're seeking, or really the fulfillment in life and the satisfaction in life that they're seeking, right?
Yeah. A lot of things that you're saying are similar to what, Prem Connection does, about individualizing everything and like doing exactly what the client is looking for and honing in on their skills. And we know that life coaching can be incredibly important to them because they need to understand themselves. But before we talk about that, I'm curious, we have talked to a therapist before, and we know in the Indian community, there is a stigma about getting self-help from therapy. What are your thoughts on maybe the stigma, like, the Indian community or South Asian community, and their thoughts on life coaching?
Yeah, I mean, probably life coaching and therapy sort of all wrap into that stigma, right? And I'm going to say this with truth and love, because that's just where I come from, but there is a reality in this, right? Is that unfortunately, I think in the South Asian community, there has been a stigma that's arisen about getting help. And I think that comes from a place where we've been taught, right, in our communities to show up perfect all the time. But we're not perfect, and life is not perfect. It's not meant to be. We're meant to learn and grow and evolve as our journey unfolds, right? And so if you're not showing up, I mean, I'm just going to give maybe some frivolous example, right? But if your hair's not done right, if your makeup's not done, your sari is not tied properly, you're not living in this house, you're not making this income, you don't have this job, XYZ, you're not in this profession, then, something's wrong with them, because this is not what we know, our society, our people to be. Does that, I mean, I know how that sounds, but it's sort of the truth.
No, I think that's great. Auntie Reina, what are your thoughts on that?
No, absolutely. Whatever you're saying, I'm just churning back. I'm actually going through my own 30 years of all the things that have happened to me. But one of the things I've noticed, Ritika, and since Kamal and I've been talking to so many people, is especially the younger generations. We have the older generation that may be on their second marriage. They're hesitant. They think, oh no, you know what? I'm going to repeat the same thing again. So there's just no hope. And they have this stigma that there's no chance, or there's no time left. And then the younger ones who are into the dating apps have met some of the wrong people, feel that, this is just not going to work, or I've had a couple of bad experiences, it's just not going to happen. How can your life coaching help people like that, make them realize that maybe they are repeating the same mistake over and over
Absolutely.
again?
And I do want to backtrack real quick, Rohan. I don't think I fully answered the question with the stigma. So there's that stigma of how we think, right? But what I really want to stress is the importance of breaking that cycle, right?
Right.
Now it's time for us to accept that people do need people to talk to outside of their personal circle, right? Because what happens in our personal circles, we already have experiences with them, or judgments, or preconceived notions around people, or you know, they look at you in a different way. Sometimes you need that objective opinion, right? An objective point of view outside of the people that know you, right? To really help you see something that you're not seeing for yourself. And so then, Renuanti, to answer your question, yes. So a lot of my work comes down to not only the self-awareness piece, but it has to do with our values. We must know what our values are. Physically, emotionally, spiritually, what's in integrity to us. And when we're looking at relationships, we're taking a look at what our values are, and then the people we bring into our lives, including our partners and our spouses, are they aligned with our values? Right? Because if anything's out of our integrity system, something's not going to be lined up. And then there's going to be a disruption somewhere, right? Now, a lot of marriages work because they do the work together, right? Or they're willing to compromise in certain ways. Their communication is good and they work. But then if one or the other is not willing to have that communication or have that compromise, or willing to work on it, then there's going to be a disconnect. Mm-hmm. Right. So I don't think anyone should feel like they're not going to find their partner, or this is not going to work out again. I think it's just really truly knowing who you are. Again, it's stepping into your truth. If you're not living authentically and you're not showing up authentically to people aren't going to really know who you are. Then you're going to step into a marriage, you're going to step into a relationship, you're going to step into a partner, not really being you. Again, you're showing up as someone that you want them to be, or you think they want you to be, but you're not being you. So you're not going to be happy or satisfied. I can go on and on. Sorry.
No. Ritika, I completely agree. But here's the question then. You know, with everything that you're saying and the stigmas that are out there, and the idea that in the South Asian community, you know, we pretend to be something we're not. How do you objectively know, or what are the signs that you know that maybe life coaching is something for you? Like how can you find that awareness about yourself? Or what are some things that you can kind of help with?
So most of my clients come to me when there's a deep sense of confusion, desperation. They're really feeling lost. They can't come to the conclusion or find the direction on their own, right? Some of us can do that. And then there's just sometimes in life where we're just like, I just don't know what to do. I don't get it. I can't figure this out on my own. My family doesn't understand me right now. My friends don't understand me right now. I need an outside source to help me sort of sort through this, right? And yes, I just thought of something that I want to say. Sorry, but you know, when we think about the stigma, right, and we're like, oh, you know, they're going to a therapist, they're going to a coach. There's something wrong with them, right? There's something not right. There's something wrong with me because I need help, or I need to talk to someone. I pose this question out to the Indian community or South Asian community sometimes, like, what's the difference in when my parents or even us, we go to the Pandit, right? And we pay them money to guide us through something. Right? Because we need emotional support. So what's the difference in going to a coach or a therapist or someone that's educated in a profession in this area to get the emotional support that you need?
That's actually a very good point that you brought up. Very good point.
We pay thousands of dollars to pundits, you know, and to come do different things or to help us, or astrologers, etc. So what's the difference in going to a therapist or a coach?
Yes, absolutely. Right? Absolutely.
I
have a question for you. If I was someone in my late 40s and I were to say, you know, I only want to marry somebody who's 30, and you know, I'm 46 and I want to marry somebody who's 30 just because I've never been married before, so there's nothing wrong with me. My age group of people that I should be with should be 30, 32, and that's a 16 years difference. So one of the challenges we face is to try and educate someone that you're in your late 40s, you can't be expecting to meet people 30-year-old. You need to be looking at people in your age group. Do you work with people like that? Can we refer clients to you?
Basically what we're saying is, Ritika, like, how do we help the people and give them realistic, you know, expectations, right? Yeah. And bring them down. And that's why we feel like life coaching can kind of hone in on those things.
Well, again, I mean, I would ask the person, what is it about the 30-year-old that's attractive to you?
She can have kids. That's the most common thing that we hear.
Yeah. So this is like a 46-year-old male wanting a 30-year-old woman. Oh, okay, got it. Okay. I mean, listen, it's not unheard of that there's these 11, 15-year gaps between marriages, right? I mean, it's not unheard of. It does happen. So we can't say that it doesn't happen. I mean, I guess for the matchmaking service, you could put it out there that this person is looking for this. Maybe there will be a woman that comes. I mean, do the best that you can as the matchmakers, right? You can do that for your client, but for the client then, I mean, yes, again, I mean, there's a reality in that. You just have to be upfront and honest. Like, we'll put it out there for you. We'll do our best, but it doesn't mean it's going to happen. And again, 40-year-old women can still have children.
Right.
I mean, we've heard of the 76-year-old auntie in India that had a child. I mean, you know, I mean, listen, miracles happen or life it just depends on the body. We can't really judge on that either.
You can just ask a pundit and see if that will help. And then
yeah, exactly.
Ask a pundit, you know, like see what happens. But yeah.
And you know, people retain pundits for every little thing, and they pay monthly fee. You know, there is such, and
so why not retain a coach?
Yeah, retain a coach.
Absolutely.
Why not retain a coach? I mean, we're actually educated, and you know, this is what we do as a profession. So yeah.
I think what you're saying is great, and I like that you said that earlier, that sometimes you do individual coaching, but then you also can do couples coaching, which is great, because, you know, if they feel as a group they're doing that. But you don't do life coaching in like more than 2 people, right? It would just be a couple, or can you do more, like if it was? I
mean, I've done some group coaching. I prefer to keep the group smaller because I'm very personalized. I really believe in one-on-one attention. So I don't like larger groups typically. I'd like to maybe keep it to 4, you know. So yes, there are families that have called me to work like with the family, like the children and the parents together, you know. So again, it's a unit of 4. Okay, you know, we'll make that happen. So, you know, things, yeah.
And probably during COVID right now, a lot of people who are listening in need help, because this is a tough time for a lot of people to get through.
Please, yes. You know, I mean, this is the time for self-care. This is not a time to feel like you can handle and manage. You could, but if you feel like you can't, please don't hesitate to reach out to someone if you feel like you need to talk to someone, especially if you feel like you're not getting the understanding, the empathy, the compassion, like within your unit, right? Mm-hmm. Within your, and it's absolutely okay to not have that, because and now, especially with COVID, you know, we're in the homes with our people all the time, like 24/7, right? Sometimes you just need to break away and get a different opinion, right? Absolutely. And have someone else give you an objective understanding of what's going on.
And how can people reach you, Ritika?
Please go to my website, ritikarose.com. I'm sure that'll be up on the site, right? It's RITIKAROSE.com. All of my social media links are there too, so you can please follow there. There's a contact page if you want to contact me. I do free consultation calls, and I'd be happy to support anyone in need at this time, and with your relationship goals, with your personal goals, with the COVID goals.
Yeah, I mean, at Prem Connection, Ritika, what we try to do too is we want to make sure that the person is ready for a relationship, and so if they need to work on themselves, we do want them to find a life coach, and we definitely are going to be referring Ritika Rose to them.
I mean, thank you so much, and I really do. When we want relationships to work, right? Or I really want to stress the importance of really understanding yourself, your values, and showing up as your authentic self, so you can find the right partner and right match for you, right? And I don't know if you guys talk to your clients about this too, but also, you know, the pressure and the stress to find a partner right away or at a certain time. Let's try and break a little bit of that cycle and stigma too. It's okay if it's taking a little bit longer time, so people really know who they are before they find their right match.
Absolutely. And
does that make
we
sense?
Also educate them. You don't need to have 100 introductions to find the right one. It only takes one to meet the right.
Yeah, exactly. It only takes one. We hone in on them. Ritika, we cannot thank you enough. That was so enlightening and really, really helpful. And I think that's great for all of our listeners to hear, and people in the community, especially to know that life coaching is out there to help them in this time.
Absolutely.
And many times it really helps. I assume you're South Asian as well yourself, Ritika, right?
Yes.
Yes, of course. So it really
Yes.
helps sometimes, because you just feel you can relate to somebody.
I understand the community. I understand what you're going through. Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, it's been a pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you so much, guys. I look forward to maybe being a guest again.
Absolutely. And
I hope this is supportive to your listeners.
It was.
I'm
Thank
sure
you so
it
much.
is.
And before we do sign off, I do want to say thank you to Radio Zindagi for having us on as well. And remember, we always stream on Facebook. Every Thursday, like Auntie Raina always says, if you don't have a date, you always have a date with us, Prem Connection.
Hey.
7 o'clock every Thursday. And we're so looking forward to growing the brand and meeting more people. And we cannot suggest life coaching enough for people that are in need. And
absolutely. And if you missed the show, it'll be on our YouTube page as well as our own Facebook page. And of course, if you want to meet Ritika, she's already given her website to you, ritikarose.com. Right? I'm correct on that, right? Yes, of course. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. And of course, thank you, Radio Zindagi. Miss Ira should be coming back. And quick mention to Miss Ira. She just had a birthday. I love to tease her. She just had her birthday on Sunday. We're going to keep celebrating her birthday for the rest of the week.
happy birthday.
Birthday.
Did you mean month?
Whole month. The whole month, yes.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for being here. And thank you, Ritika, for coming onto the show. And thank you,
so
listeners and viewers, for tuning in. Stay tuned to Radio Zindagi.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.